Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Wendy Bertinelli. Today we are going to be using the Canson watercolor paper. This is the XL and we're going to use the Princeton brushes. I have a variety of brushes that I'm going to be using, the size 6, the size 4, and the 2, and the Mungyo palette, which is one of my favorite. This palette has 48 colors. So if you're a beginner and you're not quite great at mixing colors, it's a really good starter set that I love. We're also going to be using the yellow, the green, and the purple, and the gold, which is this ink, the Amsterdam ink. And before I get started, I'm going to go ahead and measure the middle of my paper, and you'll see why in a minute, because I'm going to do 4 quick cards. And this is the way I make a lot of my cards, so I'm just measuring it at right in the center of the page, which this is a 9 by 12 inch sheet. So I'm measuring at 4.5 and 6 inches, or 5.5 inches. Nope, it's 6. It is the 9 by 12 inch Canson cold press XL paper, watercolor paper. So I'm going to go ahead and score that right in the middle, and that's just, I'm going to cut my paper anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that, and I'm just going to show you how I like to divide my paper if I'm going to color off the edge and I want a nice square box. I'm just going to take some washi tape and I'm going to place it right down the center on both of those lines. And this is just, like I said, it's a way that you can separate each of these 4 cards tops so that when you're painting you can get a nice square area. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and cut off the edges anyway, but this way I can do all 4 of them at the same time, and I'm just having a hard time finding the edge of this tape. There we go. So we're just going to put that right in the middle, and this is just washi tape, and this will just pill right up when we are all done with the painting. And I'm going to put that along all 4 sides. And since I'm going to be cutting the tops, I don't necessarily need to do it on the outside edges, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. I might just fast forward through this part so you're not bored watching me tape all 4 sides. You could also tape this to a cutting mat or a piece of cardboard, just so that when you paint, when you watercolor on it, your paper doesn't warp. It stays nice and tight. So we're going to go ahead. I have a glass of water to rinse and a glass of water to clean my brushes. So I'm just going to move all of this stuff out of the way so that we can paint. And right now I'm taking the cobalt blue. I'm just getting a lot of water on there, and then I'm just kind of going over it with the cobalt blue just to make a little bit of sky. I'm going to do that in all 4 sections. And again, this does not have to be perfect. We're going to be cutting a little bit of the edge off to get it to fit on the front of our card. This is a great way to make several cards at a time. If you have a lot of people that you like to send cards to, I love to send cards to people. I just think it's so fun to get a card in the mail. We just don't do that enough anymore these days. And it's really fun for people. So now that those are dry, I'm going to go ahead and start painting. The top left corner is probably dry enough now that we can go ahead and start our yellow. And as I said, I pre-mixed this, so we're just going to go ahead and hopefully that's dry enough. I'm going to take my, let's see, I'm going to use my size 4 brush. This is the Princeton Heritage. I'm just inking up on that yellow, and what I'm going to do is sort of make like a bud shape rose, like a yellow rose. So just point, press, and lift with 3 strokes, and now I'm just going to do 2 tinier strokes. And then I like to, when I place items down like this, I like to go in odd numbers usually. We'll see how this looks. Looks like, oh, I think we need 1 more. But I think having that 1 in the center kind of will offset it a little bit. So we're just going to go ahead and leave that like that. And one thing you want to do with watercolor is not work your paint too much. It looks a lot better when you don't continuously brush over one spot. That is something that I've learned, and I'm learning still with watercolor. So you can see we're just not being perfect at the top, just kind of meeting. That was a little wet still, my sky there. But that's okay, it's probably going to get cut off when we go to place it on top of the card. So I'm just doing the same thing on all 4 edges. You can see all of my flowers are dry now, so we're going to go ahead with the size 2 brush, and we're going to make some stems and leaves for these flowers. And just with a really light touch, I usually like to balance my pinky on the surface, and then we're just going to draw some quick lines. They don't have to be perfect again, we just want to ground them and give them some movement. And I just placed a leaf on the ground, which we're going to go over that because I just want to hide the ground, so that's not really even going to show. But we're just kind of doing a point, press, and lift technique to get those leaves. And we're just doing small leaves. Now we're going to go ahead and doodle these cards after, because that's something that I really enjoy. And you'll see we really don't need to. These flowers are plenty cute without doodling, but I just like to add the extra detail So once we get all these stems and leaves done, then we're going to go back and doodle. Okay, now I'm taking a 3/8 inch flat brush and dipping it in the purple paint, and I'm just gonna flick the end of the brush just so we get a few speckles on our card. And I'm gonna do that with the gold as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the green and just beef up the grass a little bit. I want to cover over those stems so they don't show. So I'm just filling in the grass. So we're going to go ahead and set that aside and let it dry, and I'm going to go ahead and work on my card. Now I have cut a piece of purple cardstock. It is cut, the way I like to do my cards is I will cut a piece of cardstock in half so it will make 2 cards. So I cut it at 5.5 inches, fold it in half, and then my cardstock I cut an 1/8 inch shorter, so a 1/4 inch shorter, so it will have an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So that will be cut at 5.25 inches by 4. And then I'm using the AdTech scrapbooking adhesive, as you can see. And then it ends up having that nice white border around the outside edge. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare all of my cards so that they're ready while my watercolor is drying. I can move my paints out of the way for a while. It looks like it's pretty dry, so I'm going to go ahead and peel off the washi tape. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut each of these cards 3 3/4 inches by 5, and that way they're going to have a nice border of the purple all the way around. So you can see we're going to cut off a bit of the green and a bit of the blue. So I'm just cutting on that line first, just to kind of cut them and get them ready. But then I'm going to take each card and I want it to fit with a border around that card. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the edges and make sure that they measure at 3 3/4 inches wide by 5 inches. I'm using my Micron 01 pen. This is a permanent black ink pen. And we're just gonna make those little leaves that we put on the side a little more prominent. And that's why I like to doodle. I just like to outline and make things more stand out more. And we're gonna follow the stems down. Well, let's do some little dots at the top here. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of different doodling on each of the cards. So each of the cards will be a little bit different as I doodle around them. They don't have to be perfect. This is where you get creative and do what you want to do and make it your own. So you can see I decided to go ahead and add some little flowers on the sides, just to punch it up just a little bit. And there you have it. We've got our finished card. And now we'll go ahead and make that into 4 cards. So I hope you enjoyed our tutorial today and that you come back and see me again real soon. Click to subscribe so that you don't ever miss a video. Thanks for joining me today. Have a great day.